Welcome to Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge. I think we're live on Instagram. Facebook is still loading. There we go. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Sunday night, Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge. Mondays, jazz. Tuesdays, Charleston. Wednesday, Lindy Hop and Jitterbug. Thursday is Thursday evening swing here in Spokane. Fridays, shag. Saturdays, Balboa and Bell swing. And Sundays for teachers and organizers. All right. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. Tonight, we have a interesting little chat, I think. I've been struggling with what to come up with as far as like teachers and organizers go, and I'm deciding this might be the last kind of like general session on Facebook, because I think I'm going to start an actual teacher training. So I'll put some notes about that. If you're interested in something more along the lines of something more official, I've done a program in a lot of different countries and communities in the States. And I know we've got a lot of people here in Spokane that are interested in teaching. And given kind of where I think the model of us getting this dance back out to the masses will be, given our situation with the COVID experience, I think we're going to need more competent teachers now than ever. Just my initial thoughts are, if you stay true to social distancing and stay true to smaller groups, what might end up happening for a while just to keep this dance alive is to have smaller classes all throughout town, because people aren't going to want to travel. People aren't going to want to be in big groups. So it might literally be like 3 couples in the teaching couple, or 4 couples staying 6+ feet apart, no partner rotations and whatnot. I mean, what that means, though, is if you're going to have these classes all over town versus your usual model where everybody comes together in one night in one location, that might be a new model you might have to consider for your community moving forward. Therefore, you're going to need a lot more teachers. So I know I'm going to start a teacher program here in Spokane. If you are interested in that, let me know, and I'll get you the information to go through my specific program. But tonight, I want to talk about specifically something I bring up a little bit in the overall teacher training, but I thought it'd be nice to just touch base in this half hour on what I called, in the initial notes that I promoted, 3 powerful fours, right? For 3 powerful fours for teaching. And then as I was looking up some things and trying to get some pictures, which I will post after the discussion, I actually found another very cool picture that references one of the other ones. So I relabeled it in the description here on Facebook, 4 powerful fours for teaching. Okay, and what that means is you've probably seen them all before. There's usually some kind of a quadrant or like a breakdown of where people fall in those quadrants, hence 4. But specifically to the point of learning, I'm going to speak about 4 things tonight. So let's get on with the first thing. And the first thing is the VARK model, VARK model. So these are 4 primary learning mechanisms that everybody naturally has. And so VARK simply stands for V, which is visual, A, which is auditory, hearing, R, read, and then they put in their model read/write, and then K being kinesthetic. Now, so how does this pertain to you as a teacher? So one of the things I bring up in the teacher training is the best teachers are able to take a class and be aware that you're going to have different people and different learning styles in your class. So if you can put some thought into the material that you're teaching in advance, I mean, for a lot of people that have been teaching for many years, you're like, yeah, I do that all the time. But let's face it, we all didn't do that the very first time we teach. And so for you newer teachers, yeah, you think you're teaching a step or a class, but if you want to be a little bit more, dare I say, professional and really give everything that you can to the students that are paying good money to learn this dance, then you want to consider these models, if you will, these mechanisms of learning. And so here's and again, I'll post these pictures after the talk. So here's the VARK learning styles: visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic. And so obviously when we're teaching a dance, we usually just think about, I'm just going to teach this step. But you'll have students in your class that they need to, and you know it if you've taught long enough, many years, you got the student that's like, I just need to see it one more time. Could you show it one more? I just need to see it. Great. There's the students that need to kind of hear the rhythm or hear the step or get what I call the magic mantra. What's the phrase for them to understand this rhythm or this step that it'll stick in their head so they can kind of do the movement as they're hearing how to do it. You know, for like just even like the rhythm of Lindy Hop, like saying step, step, triple step, 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 triple step, right? And how you say it is important too for how the auditory learner is going to hear it and process that, right? But if you're a visual learner, just saying that, they need to actually see you do the steps. I'm going to skip over read and write for a quick second, but we're going to get to kinesthetic, which is that's our wheelhouse as swing dance teachers, as dance teachers. That's where you live all the time. You're pretty much showing a step, having your students do it, and you know, you do it. You might get in the rotation with them. You're watching them. You're watching the kinesthetics of them moving and what they need to improve on. So we live in the kinesthetic world all the time as far as dance teachers go. The one thing I want to really bring your awareness to is the R portion, the read/write. I've done a number of jazz classes, and with my performance team that I did down in San Diego, and anytime I'm doing more of like a routine type thing for jazz, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be a routine. It could just be a list of steps or a concept. And for anybody out there that's ever taken a class or workshop with me, you know I've got those flip charts. You know I've got those little things that I put or use in the class or put on the floor. And again, that's a visual thing, but also this is a read/write thing. Some people need to see the whole routine. Or they need just to jog their memory to kind of look at the flip chart and see the steps listed out, or showing them what they learned. I used to be a very diligent note taker when Valerie and I were first learning and going to those early workshops around the Cleveland area. I mean, I would have the notebook right there in my back pocket. I'd be writing so quickly. And so what ended up happening is I'll often joke with people who ask for some of the notes I currently have on routines and stuff, and I'll say, keep in mind, these are in Joelese. These notes make complete sense to me, but if you look at them, it'd be like, what does this mean? So you got to kind of have your decoder ring sometimes to look at some of my notes. But I encourage you as teachers to encourage your students to take notes after class. If that's the kind of learner they are, they should write down the things that make the step make sense for them later. Whether that's writing, I had other people back in the day when we were note takers. This one lead, he had the sheets already printed out, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 across the top, and then just like lines. And he would literally be like, as someone was teaching a styling or a move, kind of writing again their shorthand of how the step worked, because he really needed to know the count and where things fell. And then that process later, he would go back and look at his notes and then work on his dancing accordingly. So again, he needed to read and write out the things that were happening. Again, we don't think about that as often, because in a class we're just kind of moving and grooving and we expect people to get it. Well, unless you're a professional dancer that walks into a studio or like, you know, the Broadway practice and walks in and like, boom, watches the choreographer do a step, they got it, they do it, they master it, because that's their job. Their job is to pick it up like that quickly, visually and kinesthetically. let's face it, 99.5% of the people we're teaching are not dancing every day. They're not thinking about the dance the way that we do as professional instructors, or just instructors in general. Even if you're not a professional instructor and just a hobbyist, or you're just the main teachers in town, you got to think about these different ways that people learn. And if you can tailor your teaching to the VARK model, visual, auditory, reading and writing, and kinesthetic, if you hit all those 4 elements, you're going to have a really successful class for anybody that's in there. Okay, so we're going to move on to number 2, the 4 stages of learning. Oh, that didn't print out very well. Okay, so the 4 stages of learning, and again, I'll put a pic out on this. Any questions out there? I wonder if anybody's out there on a Sunday night. Looks like, oh, I can see there's like 8 people watching. Fantastic. I love it. Okay, so the 4 stages of learning are, okay, so this gets kind of like heady a little bit, but bear with me. So there's a chart, and I'll post that here. Stage 1, unconscious incompetence, when you don't know that you don't know it. I will say that again. You don't know that you don't know. So this is like the everyday person on the street that is walking by, and you're dancing to somebody that's busking, or you're at some venue and they have some music on, and you decide to get up and dance, and they're like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Where can I learn that? They don't even know that swing dancing exists, right? So you don't know that you don't even know it. Okay, so that's step 1 as far as a stage of learning. All right, stage number 2, conscious incompetence. I love it, the phrasing, like the official phrasing. When you know that you don't know. Say that again. When you know that you don't know. So now you go into a beginner class as a student, and you know you want to learn swing dancing, but you don't know what you're doing. But another thing that we can layer on to this level of the stage of learning is they probably don't also know, like they know they want to swing dance, but they have this conception of swing dancing. Like maybe the way your community works is they take 6-count Lindy or jitterbug or whatever you call it. Like that's their first class. So like you encourage people to go to that beginner class, right? Or maybe it's the 30-minute or the hour class before a dance, and it's usually a beginner 6-count thing. Not always, but in general, right? So they're there and they think, oh, this is it. I remember early in our Balboa days with Sylvia Sykes, we were at an ALHC event in New York, and we were in the hotel room talking to Sylvia about Balboa, because we had just kind of like dabbled in the initial moves, throw out lollies and things like that. And I said, oh, okay, so that's it. We've got it. And Sylvia just laughed, and we proceeded probably for the next hour or two for her to list off all the other things that I didn't know, right? And so it's like, that would be like level 1 for me, right? I didn't even know that I didn't know it. I thought I knew it, right? But not even close. So number 2, when you know that you don't know. And that's pretty much where I live now. I live in stage 2 because I know there's a lot of stuff I don't know about the history or about other movements and other things that we could put into the dance. This is a level that we're in. So going back to the student, they don't know that there's Charleston and Balboa and blues and collegiate shag and St. Louis shag and all these other cool things they can do, and the Lindy Hop, right? So they know that they want to learn swing dance, but they don't know that there's all this other cool stuff that they can do. All right, let's go on to stage 3, conscious competence. When you know how to do something through conscious involvement. So you're in it, you're in your class, and you're working hard. You know the moves that you're supposed to be doing. You know what you're supposed to be doing lead-wise and follow-wise. You're working at it, and you know what you're supposed to be doing. You're consciously aware of the concepts that the teacher is trying to give to you as a student, and you're working there. But as a teacher, you've got to be able to articulate these things. Right? I think on the teacher level, this is where we need to excel. We need to get our students to know how to do something and being consciously aware of it. A lot of times, like you'll show a movement, right? And then, but you'll see them do it, and they don't realize that they're not doing it the right way, right? So it's like, could be one of those, like when you don't know that you don't know. Level 1. Again, this is like you're gonna flip-flop all over here based on the level of your class and your teaching and whatnot. But you want your students to be aware of the concepts you're trying to teach and to be really aware of their own movement and be conscious of their movement. Especially, I say, for leaders. Like leaders, you need to know where your follower is going to end up. You need to create the shape. Followers, you need to know how to follow it. What are the body points? What are the connection points that you're going to utilize to feel a forward movement, a rotational movement? How are you going to come out of a movement with momentum with your body so that you're in the right place to get the next lead? And we each have our responsibilities in the dance. When you first start, you don't have any knowledge of these things, but eventually you become really conscious of having those skills. And so this would be like maybe the intermediate level where you're really working. And as a teacher, this is where we want to really hone what we're doing and the choices we make in a class to get people to this level. Now, number 4 on the 4 stages of learning is unconscious competence. So this is when you know how to do something through unconscious habit. So like you know it, and you're just like, you're not even aware that you're knowing it. Like it's happening. It's in there. It's ingrained. It's like, I encourage people to like practice the Lindy footwork. So you don't even have to think about it. You're just doing it without thought. It's just there. And eventually over the years of dancing, you're dancing all of a sudden and you're doing a Susie Q in a place that you never thought you were going to do that, just because you were aware that you could do it. You've developed those skills in stage 3. You're consciously aware of like, I can put a Susie Q in this certain place, and I'm going to work really hard to do it in that place. But eventually you get to the point where you're hearing something in the music and your body, you create a movement or a move, and it just happened. Why? Because of going through all those stages and building up your skill set along the way. I feel like this is the level of learning. Again, like I live in the when you know you don't know. Like I know I don't know a lot about like dance history on a broad scale. I'm still learning a lot on my own movement. But then there's level 4 of when you know you want to be doing something and just unconsciously allowing it to happen. Like, is that ever really attainable? You have moments, and I think you have moments as a teacher when you're in the zone and you see the students and you're able to articulate. You come up with a certain phrase or a new way to explain something based on something you saw, and you're in that zone. That would be one of these areas where like you had it somewhere, but it wasn't like something you're consciously, I'm going to go in and follow A, B, C, D class plan. All of a sudden, the students take you off into a whole nother area, and you're able to go there with them. Again, this doesn't happen overnight. It happens after years of honing your craft and being aware of these things. And as a student, you're going to be in the class, and something's going to click at that moment. Or more importantly, on the social dance floor, you will have those moments. I guarantee you that we've all had that magical moment where the connection was right and the music hit and the jazz step was and it was so good. And that's that unconscious moment that you have, but you have to develop all those skills through those other stages. Okay, so we've got our VARK model with those 4 quadrants. Now we have our 4 stages of learning. And again, I'll put that out there. And then as I was looking for some pics and stuff to share for tonight, I found another neat thing. And so this kind of goes toward leveling. So this is listing in the description on Facebook. So number 3 is the 4 stages of competence. So, and this goes right along with the 4 stages of learning: the unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. Right? So those are like the big words for the stuff I just talked about. But to give it a level, you would have, for level 1, you're a novice, you're brand new, right? And for number 2, maybe like an advanced beginner. Number 3, you're what we would call proficient. And number 4, and this is a relative term, this is what it says on the chart, and again, I'll share this picture. It says expert, but again, do we ever get to that expert level? And then they take it like one step further, and they actually put like world-class mastery on this top shelf. And again, I'll share these pictures on Facebook. But I think what's really interesting is at the very top of their little chart. Actually, I'll show it here. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. 4 stages of competence. Instagram. I don't think you're going to. Oh, there we go. Again, go to my Facebook if you're on Instagram. I'll share this in the comments. But I like that they have another step at the top, world-class mastery. But between that expert and that mastery level, they have this dotted line, and it says complacency. So you get to this level where you think you know everything, and you can get complacent. And so, again, I want to go back to, like, where do you live in the stages of learning? If you're going to be a lifetime learner, you're probably going to live in that number 2, which is, you know that you don't know. I know I don't know everything. I know a lot of the dance, and I try to share as much as I can, but I definitely know I don't know everything, and I'm really open to seeing new ways to do a step, open to like new figures, new ways to describe things, body movement. Like, I'm still working on my lead after all these years. So it's just one of those things. So those are the 4 stages of competence. And I didn't have this one listed previously when I did the promo on Facebook earlier this afternoon. Okay, so now we get to number 4. So this is my 4th powerful 4. And this I have talked about in my teacher trainings, and that is what's called the format teaching model. Let me show you what that looks like. There's that little quadrant. Okay, now basically this thing gets pretty deep if you actually look it up. And again, I encourage you to just take these ideas. I'm just giving you the big cliff note, high level, quick chat in 30 minutes about this. But take it upon yourself, especially, if you've got some time on your hands, like, research some of this and work on your teaching and understanding how this can help improve your teaching. So basically, they break it down as far as like, this is a method. The format method is for helping anyone learn anything. So it's like the student has an experience, how they perceive the class, what they like, if they're a right brain thinker, left brain thinker. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Like, there's some people that need action. There's some people that need reflection, right? So they break down, and it's fairly kind of similar to the VARK thing, but they break down 4 learning styles. Okay, so VARK is the primary learning mechanisms, and then the format model, they talk about type 1 being imaginative learning, feeling, watching, involvement, making connections. Their key question, a student that has a type 1 in the format is always wondering why. That's their big question, is like, why does this work the way it does? Why am I doing this step this way? Why? That's their big question. Type 2 is more of an analytic person, listening to and thinking about the information, seeking facts, thinking through ideas, learning what the experts think. So their big question is what? So the type 2 in the format model is a what kind of person. What is this move? All right, what's the history? What do I need to do to make this happen? So now we go back to the VARK model, like this person, a type 2 person, like thinking about the information, the ideas, they might need to not only see it, but they might need to read and write it out because they're a little more analytical, right? Like, and if you have what I call the dancer type, doesn't care about a chart or writing things down. They just need to see it and do it. We'll get there. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so type 1 is imaginative. The big question is why. Type 2 is analytical. Their big question is what. Type 3, common sense learning, thinking and doing, experimenting, building, creating, using, tinkering. So their big question is how. How can I make this work? What's happening in the process of this figure or this movement or this step? Okay, so type 3 is common sense. Their big question is how. And number 4 is what we call dynamic learning, doing and feeling, exploring, learning by trial and error, self-discovery. Their big question is if. So these are those students in the class that you'll do a move and you'll see somebody starting to like do the, like, I love it when they start doing the variation that I was going to teach anyway. It was like, oh man, this person's already ahead of me. They're already tinkering. They're the if, like, what if I could do this with this move? Like, and a lot of times, like, for example, in like a beginner class, like we'd show a certain turn. And we'd say like, now, just because the leader's hand comes up, followers, that doesn't mean this turn is always going to be in that direction. It could go clockwise. It could go counterclockwise. The connection could be low. It could be high. And this starts to really bring in all these possibilities for people. Well, if you're the person, if you're a type 4 on that format model and that kind of a learner, you get all excited about all those possibilities, right? But if you're a type 2 person, the analytical person, and you're just trying to hone in on that one particular move, that's going to be really overwhelming to you. So as a teacher, you got to be aware, again, of all these 4 different learning methods. So again, type 1, those students are asking why. Type 2, those students are asking what. Type 3, they're asking how. And type 4, they're asking if. So again, thinking about your material, if you're able, and again, none of this stuff I'm bringing up tonight is easy. Just like learning to dance, this takes years sometimes to hone your craft, to have the knowledge, to have the width of knowledge, the depth of knowledge, to be able to kind of shift gears in how you're teaching and what you're teaching and whatnot, to cater to the level of your class or to individuals that are asking questions and trying to figure out what kind of a learner they are. And so if you can bring this to the table when you do teach a class, even if it's the 30-minute pre-bar DJ night lesson, if you can be as professional as you can and really think about all these different people that might be in that lesson trying to learn, and you're able to visually show it, you're saying the right things, you encourage people to write things down, or maybe you have a visual up on the wall or something like that. And you're obviously, again, our wheelhouse is getting people moving and grooving and making that stuff happen. But then as you teach over the years and you get all of this knowledge in your head, how do you adequately give this knowledge out to your students in the right way, in the right words? You don't want to start like going down one path too far. Like if you're just like moving and moving and moving and moving and never turning around and paying attention, and your students are lost because you never took the time to explain the step, then you're going to lose them. On the flip side, if you sit there and start to explain a step ad nauseum and give 1,000 different examples and talk about what can go right and talk about what can do wrong, and 10 minutes later, they don't even remember what the step even was that they saw. So, and you've got that whole spectrum of things. So that, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get through all of that stuff. But again, I'm going to post some pictures on the Facebook group, and that'll kind of reinforce this. And again, please take it upon yourself to research a little bit. And again, for those of you that have been teaching for many, many years, or those of you that are are professional full-time educators out there. You're probably trained in these areas. These are things that I kind of tried to seek out over my years of teaching and trying to become a better swing dance teacher, but thinking of it as a skill in itself, teaching versus just like dancing versus competing versus performing. I think they each have their own special skill sets. So if you're going to be a teacher, whether it's in your hometown, whether it's you have the goal of being an international traveling teacher, or you just want to be regional, I think you have a huge responsibility, especially if people are paying any money whatsoever to come to a class that you're teaching. You should hone your craft. You should be the best teacher that you can be. And I feel that having an understanding of these four powerful fours, these mechanisms, these stages of learning, competence, and the format model, if you can put some awareness around your classes from this point forward on this, I know it'll make you better teachers. I'm getting some comments out there. Yes, dance more, talk less. Well, yep, except for when you're doing a teacher organizer discussion. So I haven't gotten up at all. Sorry. And great teacher does not great dancer does not equal a great teacher. Exactly. Like you can watch somebody and they'd be like, man, that dancer is amazing. Like, look at them go. But you go to a class and they don't have the ability to break it down, right? So they might be a very gifted person in their movement, but they can't explain the step to a beginner. Yeah. But there might be some dancers that they're not the flashiest dancer, or your eye might not even go toward them, but their teaching and their ability to break down a basic move for a brand new beginner is like exceptional based on the words they use or how they do it. Their body mechanics are so awesome, but they're not a flashy dancer, right? So another comment here should say it doesn't always equal that, but sometimes it can. Yeah, you can have great dancers that are also great teachers, and there are a lot of those out there. But again, I hope that tonight was helpful. If it brought you any insight to your teaching, or maybe something that you've never thought about before, again, the VARK model, the 4 stages of learning, the 4 stages of competence, and the format model. I'll type, they're in the notes or the description of the class up above. I'm going to post some pictures that give you a real quick reference to these. Again, take it upon yourself to go and research and think about the way that you're teaching, and if you're hitting all of these different areas when you teach a class. And if you need help in understanding how you do that, I would definitely sign up for some teacher training. You can contact me for some one-on-one work, or send me a message. Again, I'm probably going to shift gears on Sunday nights just because of our local scene and their availability, and actually offer a virtual teacher training, do as much as I can like this. My wheelhouse is being in a group of teacher wannabes and really working with them in person. But we're in the situation we're in. We're doing the best we can. We're figuring out different models of teaching based on our situation. And so, again, if you're interested in some teacher training, let me know. Please tune in to Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge throughout the week. Again, Monday nights, jazz. Tuesday, Charleston. Wednesday, Lindy Hop and Jitterbug. Thursday, evening swing here in Spokane. Friday, shag. Saturday, bell bow and bell swing. And Sundays, we shall see if we're going to continue some teacher organizer discussions, or if I'm going to go official Zoom class teacher training. So stay tuned. Please donate if you can. Think about any hour-long class or discussion you'd normally take, split it in half, send it my way, or even $1 or $2 really, really does help. I hope this was helpful tonight. And as always, thank you for attending Joel's College of Swing Era Knowledge. Night, night. Crazy about you.